Step into my office. Welcome to vlog number 15, where we're going to talk about how to quit your job. Are you watching this right now? Maybe you're watching this from your office and you're just like, God, the thought of going to work tomorrow just sounds miserable. You're like dreading going to work. Or maybe you're just in the camp where you're like, yeah, my life's okay, my job's not bad, it's comfortable, but the thought of leaving that comfortable job is absolutely terrifying. Well, as someone who's left their job, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice. This video right here, this was me literally like a week after moving to Thailand.
Guys, what's up? Sean Ogle from Location 180 on location here in Krabi, Thailand. You see peninsula right over there. We got Riley Beach on the other side of it. It's gorgeous here. I've been here for a week and I feel like I've already done a month's worth of stuff. It is absolutely fantastic.
Look how happy I was. I was like on a beach just thinking like, holy crap, you can actually do this. Like people actually travel and have businesses and whatever. And that was kind of before I had a business. But my point being, I took a little bit of a leap. I took a little bit of a risk. And now here I am 6-7 years later, just loving my life and getting to help other people do the exact same thing. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you my 4-step process for how to quit your job and how to leave and how to decide if it's right for you. So rather than ramble on and on like I tend to do, you know what? Let's just get into it. The first step towards leaving your job is figuring out, what do you want? Why are you leaving your job? Like, do you want to go to another job? Do you want to go travel? Do you want to start your own business? I mean, you know, it gets tough because when you're in a position where you're unhappy and you're doing things that, you know, stress you out and you're dreading going to work, you know, anything seems better than what you're doing. But there is certainly a grass is always greener mentality, and what's going to end up happening is if you don't know where you want to go, you are going to end up even more miserable and more directionless than you are in your job. So really think about, what do you want to do? What is the next step? And that takes us to step number 2, which is making progress on that next step. Don't just quit your job cold turkey and hope for the best. Sure, that's worked out for some people, but for most of the people I know that's done that, it's led to more stress. And it's led to them back in a day job relatively quickly after they realized they have no way to support themselves, and that wasn't the smartest move to make. But if you've actually planned out your next steps and you've made a little bit of progress on something, it gives you something you can latch onto and really start working on as soon as you leave. So for me, I started Location 180 about 6 months before I left. It wasn't making a ton of money. I had no idea what was next, but I knew that had the potential to turn into a business. It had the potential to turn into something I could do full time. So as soon as I left, after a couple days of crying myself to sleep, pretty much literally, I started working full-time on Location 180 and everything grew really quick from there. So whether you want to start a blog or you want to start a business, maybe you want to leave, maybe you want to move just to a new job and do something different. Start doing your research, start setting up some of those interviews, start doing informational interviews with different companies and figuring out what it's all about. So make sure you've at least started to dip your toes into whatever the next thing is before you leave. Step number 3, assess your risk tolerance. Your risk tolerance is going to be Step number 3, assess your risk tolerance. Your risk tolerance is probably going to be very different than mine and very different than your best friend's. You need to understand what you're willing to do and what you're willing to risk and what you're not willing to do. You know, for some people, it's a matter of money. They want to make sure they've got enough of a buffer where they can, get by for 6 months or a year. For some people, it's only 1 month without having to work. So for me, I had about $10,000 in the bank before I left. I knew that would, allow me to do a little bit of traveling. It would give me, a number of months that I could, kind of get by while I figured out what was next. I've talked to other people where that number is like $50,000 or even $100,000 in the bank. And that seems like a lot of money. And I don't necessarily think you need that, but you need to be honest with yourself about your risk tolerance. If you are going to freak out about money the moment you leave, it's probably not quite time to leave yet. You need to save up a little bit and make sure that you're prepared to do so. But if you're the kind of person where you're like, hey, my back's against the wall, I'm a resourceful dude or dudette, quitting my job now is just going to make me work that much harder, then, you've got a higher risk tolerance and you can probably make that leap a little bit sooner. And finally, the 4th step is we've got 5 different strategies, 5, that I'm going to give you for leaving your job. This is how you actually tell your boss you're going to leave. Because for me, it was really kind of difficult because I felt that obligation. He hired me straight out of school. It was a brand new business. He took a chance on me. I didn't want to let him down. But with these 5 different strategies, you're going to be able to give your boss a good, solid reason for why you're going to leave, not burn those bridges, not have any hard feelings, and hopefully set yourself up for success over the next few years. Strategy number one, quarter life crisis. If you're like in your mid 20s or, even into your like 30s and you're going through this kind of identity crisis where you're like, I'm doing this, but I don't want to be doing this and it's not getting me closer to my goals, be honest with your boss about that. Tell them it's like, hey, all I knew in my life is that I wanted to travel. I wanted to travel the world, and that was the only thing I wanted to do. Everything else is just leading up and helping me achieve that goal. Well, if your job is not allowing you to do that and you only get 2 weeks of vacation out of the year, your boss is probably going to understand that's not necessarily the best fit. So you can talk about your quarter life crisis, about how, the direction you're taking is not the direction you want to be on. And if you don't make a move soon, it's just going to be harder later on. I went through a little bit of that as well. I really did go through my quarter life crisis where I said, hey, I'm leaving. I'm moving to Thailand, and it ended up being one of the best things I could have ever done. And now that I'm slightly past my quarter life, I'm 30 years old, I know that I've set myself up, and it was taking that leap back then that has allowed me to get where I am today. Strategy number 2. This is called the time bomb principle. And it depends on your relationship with your boss and the kind of company you're with as to whether or not this is going to work. But essentially, this is where you say, hey, boss, I'm going to leave the company in, pick a number, 9 months. I'm gearing up. I want to go, start a business on my own. I want to go travel. I want to do something. So I'm preparing to do this. And that's where you work with your boss to say, hey, I don't want to leave you hanging. I want to make sure that, you have all the information you need. You've got my replacement trained. And it can potentially be a really good way to make your company and your employer feel good, because you're saying, I don't want to leave you out in the lurch. I want to help you. Let's bring somebody else on board. I'll train them. I'll teach them everything that I know. And then, we'll make an easy transition out of this. Obviously, if you do this, you run the risk of them being like, oh, you want to leave? All right, you got 2 weeks left and you're out. So you want to make sure that you've got a pretty solid relationship with your boss. And, especially if you're kind of friends and you can kind of float that idea out there and see what's going on, that's not a bad strategy. But I know a few different people that have made this work brilliantly. And now they're thriving because they had all of that extra time to prepare their business, prepare the things they were doing in their spare time while they were still making a little bit of income. Strategy number 3, the entrepreneur. Some people are just born to be entrepreneurs, and they know they really want to run a business. So tell your boss that. Be like, hey, it's been great helping you build this organization, or if it's a small business, helping you build your company. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that I need to do something on my own. I've always wanted to start a business, and this is my opportunity to do it. It's not going to get any easier for me. Once you have kids or a mortgage or things like that, it gets much more difficult. So I want to take this time of my life to make this change and to start my own business. And depending on what that business is, if it's a consulting business or a freelance business, I've seen a lot of times where your first client can become your old boss or your old company, where it's like, hey, I'm going to leave and I'm going to do this. And they say, you know what? If you're going to be doing these same types of things on your own, we would love to hire you. And in some cases, they even pay you more money to get your services. So, think about that. Think about how it applies to your life. If you really do want to leave to start a business, maybe taking the entrepreneur strategy is not a bad way to go. So strategy number 4. So this is full on. This is what I tried to do, and it didn't totally work. I take it back. It didn't work at all, but we've refined the strategy, and I've helped a number of people do this, and that's the remote work proposal. So basically, that's where you're like, you know what? I want more freedom. I want more flexibility. Technology is at a point where I can really do my job from anywhere, and you create a proposal to give to your boss to say, hey, allow me to work remotely. Maybe at first it's only 1 day a week or it's on a trial basis, but you can start easing into that. I will say, do not tell your boss that you want to do a remote work arrangement just so you can go move to Hawaii. That's what I did, and it didn't work. Even though I was going to take a pay cut, I was going to save the company money, I was going to make the company more secure. Seriously, I thought I was a genius. I really felt strongly this was going to work. No, it didn't work. So be honest with your boss. Make sure you think about all of the different reasons it's going to be beneficial to them, and start small. Don't say, hey, I want to move to Hawaii for 3 months. Be like, hey, let me try working from home this Friday and see what happens. and ease into it. So what that's going to allow you to do, if you do eventually want to quit your job, this is going to give you more flexibility to work on personal projects and work on your hours. So you're not stuck necessarily working 9 to 5, but allows you to work from home where you can get things done on the time frame and during the times where it's most effective for you. And finally, strategy number 5, the Globetrotter. Bottom line is, you want to travel the world, you're never going to get any younger, now's the chance to do it, you want to go see the world, and you've saved up to do it, tell your boss that. I mean, who's going to say, no, you shouldn't travel the world, that's not cool? And they may give you all sorts of reasons as to how it's irresponsible, it's not feasible, you don't have the money to do it. Well, hopefully, if you've been following Location 180 long enough, maybe other sites like it, you know that actually it is possible. And it's not necessarily going to be as much money as you might think it is. And so it's a totally reasonable thing to do. So if you're trying to leave your job so you can travel, there's all sorts of ways, by the way, that you can make money doing that. I mean, that's what Location Rebel is all about. We teach you how to build a business. You can run from anywhere in the world. So if you want to, make a little bit of money while you're traveling, but you want to leave your job so that you can do that, tell your boss. They might be a little jealous, they might try and convince you to stay, but in the end, they're probably going to understand it. So those are my 5 strategies for how to quit your job. Quarter-life crisis, time bomb principle, the entrepreneur, the remote work proposal, and the Globetrotter. And so as you're thinking about these strategies, remember, understand exactly why you want to leave and what you're going to do once you do leave and what's next. 2, start making progress on that next step, whether it's a blog or a business or another career path. Make sure you've made a little bit of progress before you've left. And assess your risk tolerance. Make sure you know and are really honest with yourself about how you're going to react when money's not coming in the door, when you don't have to go to your day job, and whether or not that's going to stress you out more or just motivate you to work that much harder. Then pick the strategy that's going to work the best, and before you know it, you're out of a job. All right, that's it for us today. I hope you got some value out of this video. Remember, quitting your job doesn't have to be as scary as you think it is. It just takes a little bit of planning and being honest with yourself about what's next. We've got new videos every single Thursday. We cover everything from travel to business to productivity, you name it. If that's interesting to you, hit subscribe right there. Give it the old thumbs up. And I would love to know your thoughts. If there's something you want me to cover, if there's something you want me to talk about, leave a comment below. I love doing this kind of stuff. And with that, I'm out. I'm going to go enjoy what actually looks like some sunshine here in Portland, because we haven't had a whole lot of that lately. It's been very wet. It has not been my favorite thing. So I'm going to go for a run or something. And I will see you guys next Thursday.